Hello friends, it's John Lone King and welcome back to my next episode of From Profits to Properties, where I help business owners with tactics and tips to help grow their business and increase their profits. And then in turn, you can use those increased profits to help build a real estate portfolio that gives you long-term wealth, whether it's a primary home, an investment property, or a portfolio of multiple properties. This is your place to learn how to grow your business and build that network of properties. All right, so as always, we have two topics we're going to talk about. The first topic today is going to be the business topic, and that is about you can either have excuses or results. And then once I get done with that, we'll have a brief intermission, and then we're going to talk about our lending topic, and it has to do with equity in your home. Ways business owners can tap into the equity in their home, pros and cons of different options, and help you figure out, should I tap into my equity and how should I go about doing it? So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, quick confessional. I'm recording this at 8:30 at night on a Sunday night, literally about a day and a half before this podcast is going to get released. Now, I promised my team I would have these done a week ahead of time. But last week, I was in Dallas for a sales conference. So this is part of the coaching group that I am part of, not only as a student, but also as a coach. And I had a busy week. I was traveling all week. My kid had playoffs for her flag football team, and it was a super busy week. I didn't get this podcast recorded. And then I head into the weekend, and we had a swim meet all day yesterday. And then today I had to do things around the house, and I thought, I'll just do it tomorrow. And then I thought, wait a second, I have a busy day in my calendar tomorrow, but more importantly, my team needs time to prepare this podcast. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe I just don't do the podcast. Like nobody's going to be mad and saying, oh my gosh, John didn't do your podcast. I had a really, really good excuse for why I didn't get the podcast done this week. And it's actually what helped me come up with my topic for today, because it reminded me of the fact that you can only have excuses or results. You cannot have both. And I decided at 8 o'clock tonight, I'm not going to have excuses. I'm going to have results. I'm going to take the steps that are necessary to accomplish the goals that I've outlined for myself. And you have to think that way in your business, is you have to continually say, hey, I might have a valid excuse, but that excuse still stands in the way of me having my results. So do I want to have excuses, or do I want to have results? It reminds me of just a couple of days ago, I gave away my best student award. So every semester, all the students that each coach has, they pick from all of their students to pick who is going to be the best student of the semester. And my winner is a loan officer that is out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he absolutely crushed it this semester. But more importantly, and I said this from the stage when I gave him the award, and I said he embodies the thought process of you can only have excuses or results. You can't have both. So this gentleman has only been in the mortgage industry for 2 years, and he's crushed it the entire time that he's been in the industry. And this is my first opportunity coaching him. And I was thinking, hey, you know what? This guy's good, but he's really got to show me that he is a step above. And when we had our first meeting, he said, John, I've got a lot of things going on this semester. I'm buying a house. I'm getting married. And I've got some travel that's planned, not only travel for the wedding and for the honeymoon, but also travel prior to that. And I said, okay, well, if you want to win as the best student, you've got to step up and you've got to deliver. And we talked a little bit about having excuses or results. And let me tell you, this guy had zero excuses. One of our first coaching calls, he was actually on a plane flight, and he said, hey, John, I don't think I can make the coaching call. I said, I completely understand. It was booked before we had scheduled the coaching calls. He ended up joining mid-flights, used the in-flight Wi-Fi, joined in on the call and listened to the entire call. He got his homework in before the call. Even though he was traveling, he decided, I'm going to have results and not excuses. Closed escrow on a house a month ago, continued to show up for every single phone call, get all of his homework done. But then here's the deal, he 10X's it. He not only does the homework that was assigned to him, he does the homework that was assigned to his peers. So he is doing more homework than he was required to do, because he understands that if you do the work, if you take the steps, if you get in the reps, you will achieve at a higher level. He's been in the industry for 2 years, and he's in the top 20 in our company. Okay. He is absolutely embodying the thought process that I'm trying to get across to you today. You have only two options in business and in success, and that is you can have excuses or you can have results. Think about Michael Jordan. Think about any Tiger Woods, any professional player, and you look at their journey of how they got to where they are. And it absolutely is about having results and not allowing excuses to get in the way. Jordan would get up every single morning. Actually, I didn't watch the dance. I'm really disappointed. I know I'm probably disappointing you that I didn't watch it, but I know of his story. And he literally would do reps over and over and over again. Tiger Woods would hire a trainer and do the same thing over and over and over again to make sure that he perfected it. And it wasn't a matter of, oh, I'm tired this morning. Oh, I stayed up late last night. Oh, I'm traveling. You figure out how to get the work done. That is the key to achieving high levels of success, is figuring out how to get the work done. As a matter of fact, the truth is a week from now is Memorial Day, which means that my team's not going to be working on Monday to get my podcast ready. And I've already got a crazy busy week. So guess what? You're going to get another podcast that's going to come out a week from now. And if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, you're going to see I'm wearing this same shirt because I'm recording it as soon as I'm done with this one. Here I am at 8:40 at night on Sunday night. And I'm going to record not one, but two podcasts because I know this week I'm already behind what I promised, because I promised my team I'd have them done 10 days in advance. And I won't have the time to get it done this week. And so I am figuring out what is it going to take. Now, you got to watch out for the other side of that. You got to watch out for the fact you can't take away from your family and sacrifice your family to achieve professional results, because you're going to come home one night and the family is not going to be there. So I'm not telling you to ignore your family and do whatever it takes and don't have an excuse. I went to my daughter's football playoffs. I rescheduled my plane flight to go to Dallas, so I was taking a red eye. I literally slept for 1 hour before I had to get in to the hotel, take a shower, and get down for the meetings that we were starting, for a day and a half of meetings in which I was presenting on stage for some of that. Yet I was willing to do that because my family is very important to me. So do not misunderstand and say, oh my gosh, I like John and I trust where he's coming from. And John says, you got to have results in business. You can't have excuses. So honey, that's why I'm not attending the function. That's why I'm not going to the ballet recital, because I gotta have results. I can't have excuses. You got to figure out how to get it all done. There is no easy way. There is no easy button. It's about figuring out how to get it all done. And you only have two options: excuses. Now, those are excuses you tell yourself, excuses you tell your clients, excuses you tell your family. Or you have results, and you figure out how to get it done. You rearrange, you prioritize, you fit it in, but stop making excuses and figure out how to have the results that you know you can have. All right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to have a quick commercial break, and then I'm going to come back and talk to you about pulling out equity as a business owner, how to do it, and the right and wrong ways to go about doing it. We'll see you in a minute. Hey, business owners, I want to pause today's show to remind you about my Alt-Doc loan program. If you're looking to buy a primary home, a second home, or a rental property, and you've thought, I got to show more profit on my tax returns so that I can qualify for a mortgage, you are doing it wrong. All you're doing is setting yourself up for failure by owing more money to the IRS in the long term. Instead, use my Alt-Doc loan program. I can qualify you using the deposits into your bank statements. I can use your P&L or your 1099. I can even sometimes use the assets you have in the bank as qualifying assets. So if you are in this position, reach out to me. Call us at 85 Loan King. That's 855-626-5464, or go to 85loanking.com/altdoc. So my second half of the episode today, I want to talk about tapping into equity in your home. So first of all, what is equity? It's the difference between what you owe and what the house is worth. Now, don't misunderstand. That money is yours, but only if you were to sell the house. If you haven't sold the house, and that money, yeah, it's yours, but it's illiquid. The only way for you to tap into it is to borrow against the equity. So borrowing against the equity, you have really two overly simplified options. A full refinance, in which you refinance your primary mortgage, the one that you already have on the property, and add to it, make it larger, and that way you're pulling cash out. So if you have a home that's worth $500,000 and you currently owe $200,000, then you have $300,000 in equity. Now, here's where everybody gets the math wrong. First of all, they think, well, I can borrow then the full 300,000 because that's my equity. No, the bank is going to want a cushion. The bank is going to want some extra remaining equity so that in case values fall, we're still dipping into your money, not ours. And typically, most banks are going to limit you to 70 to 80% loan to value, or what's called combined loan to value, when you're pulling cash out of the property. Now, again, many people get that math wrong and they say, okay, well, I owe $200,000 on the house and it's worth $500,000, so I have $300,000 in equity. And so if the bank says that they'll loan me 80%, then they'll give me 80% of that $300,000 and I can get $240,000 of my equity. Nope, the math doesn't work that way. You take what the house is worth, $500,000. 80% of that, or $400,000, is the most you can owe. Now, I have programs that might take us to 85 or even 90% of what you owe. So I'm just using this as a simple mathematical example. So you owe, your house is worth $500,000. You can borrow up to 80% loan to value based on the loan program that you're looking at. That means your total debt on the property cannot exceed $400,000. Now, you can replace your current $200,000 mortgage with a new mortgage of $400,000, or you can leave your $200,000 mortgage there and add another $200,000 mortgage on top of it. That's called a home equity loan or home equity line of credit. So the first thing is refinance, full refinance versus a home equity loan or line of credit. Either way, you're often going to have fees. Those fees usually need to come out of or be subtracted from the loan amount of how much you're borrowing on the home loan. Okay, I'm going to get out of math and I'm going to talk more about just concept here. Okay, do not pull money out of your house for the sake of pulling money out of your house. But pulling money out of your house is often the cheapest and most cost-effective, easiest, I should say, way for people to fund a business. Now, if you're thinking about taking huge risks in your business and saying, "Hey, I'll pull this money out and I'm gonna bet on this highly speculative thing, and I may or may not win." Well, the worry is if you don't win, how are you going to pay that back, or are you going to lose your home? So don't take it as, oh my gosh, that's my equity, I should just pull it out, because you're going to owe the money back. It's going to add to your monthly payment, and you're risking your home. You're risking the shelter that is over your head, that you have built a home for your family. So don't take this willy-nilly. But the truth is, to become an entrepreneur, to become a business owner, to expand your business, you're already risking the stability of your family. If you wanted financial stability in the short term and medium term, it is not coming from being an entrepreneur. It is opportunity you get from being an entrepreneur. You don't get stability. You might get stability later on. You might get stability once you've built a business and you've got a good amount of wealth built up. Now you've got more stability than you had as an employee. But the truth is, if you were looking for stability, you should have stayed as an employee, because in the short and medium term, your risk level goes way up. You could lose everything simply because you're self-employed. You are the last one that gets paid. Your employees, your vendors need to get paid before you do, or your business won't operate. If you are an employee of a company and that company goes under, you can go to work for a different company. But if you're the owner of that company and that company goes under, your only option is to go to work for somebody else. And oftentimes we became self-employed because we're looking for the opportunity, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and we risk our short-term finances. We pull money out of our 401ks. We liquidate our life savings. We pull equity out of our home. It's the only way to get there for most people, because banks won't loan you business lines of credit and business loans until you've established the business. Yeah, they only want to give you money when you already have a business that doesn't necessarily need the money. That is how banks operate, okay? They don't want to give money to people that are desperate, because the worry is, are they really going to pay us back? And so when you think about tapping into the equity in your home, you're like, John, I'm confused. You tell me it's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm telling you that it is likely your best option to fund the establishment or growth of your business, but be very cautious about when you tap into your equity. Now, once you decide to tap into your equity, now you have to worry about, do I have the income to qualify? Because if you've already made the leap, if you quit that job before you open up your home equity loan or line of credit, before you pull that cash out of the property, and you quit your job, we've got a problem. I need income to show that you're able to repay that mortgage over time. And so if you quit your job and you have not yet built a history of 1 or 2 years of consistent profit in your business, you've got a problem. I don't care how much equity you have in your home, you'll be very hard pressed to tap into that equity. So first of all, if you're about to start a business, don't quit your job until you get the financing in order. If you already have an established and running business, then call me to talk about your options. We have options to use, obviously, tax returns, but for a lot of growing businesses, you either don't show the profit or you don't have the profit. So don't show the profit, meaning you have a great CPA or financial planner that makes sure that you're not reporting more profit than you need to. Even though you are making more profit, you can use legal loopholes. You know that. So whether you are not making profit or you're just not showing the profit, a lot of banks are going to say, I won't loan you money then. But I do have backup alternatives. That's where we use bank statement loans to prove your income. We look at the deposits into your bank account every single month. We look at which one of those are considered business deposits. And in most cases, we treat half of your deposits as profit and half of your deposits as income. So that can be very, very helpful. But here's the coolest part. We can do that for not only refinances and purchases, but we can do it for home equity loans and lines of credit. So if you've got a great interest rate on your mortgage, and you're like, I don't want to refinance because I've got a really low interest rate, but I know I need to use bank statements to prove my income. And the only bank statement loans are full refinances. That is no longer true. There are bank statement loans that you can use to prove your income that then can be utilized to take out a home equity loan or home equity line of credit. So there's a lot of options to tap into your equity, but I'm going to recap. Don't tap into your equity just because. Make sure that you are doing it because it is the smartest option. And sometimes you're best off doing it before you need the money, because then you have the income and the credit and all of the other components that allow you to qualify. Because once you've jumped off at the deep end into the deep end of the pool, jumped off the diving board into the deep end of the pool, it's a little too late to jump back into the stability of a wage job, W-2 job, in order to qualify for a mortgage. So think about those things when you're thinking about expanding your business, growing a business, or becoming self-employed. Where is the money going to come from? And should I tap into it now? Should I strategically wait until later? How am I going to improve my income? And how should I tap into that money? This is excuse me, it's really important that you think about this early before it's too late. Gang, thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate your time tonight. Looking forward to seeing you next week. You'll see me in the same shirt because I'm about to record it, and it'll be a great episode. So if you liked what I've shared tonight, please share this with anybody else that you know that could use this information. And please leave me a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.